Tim, last week, and we actually talked about this at the time, you had said that Derrick Rose is dominating the point guard position like no one since Magic Johnson. Convince Skip why this is a good thing.
Well, I just love that comment got everybody so fired up. I know you, in particular, had some issues with it.
I stopped you in the hallway to ask you about it.
Did you actually say this?
Well, you've got to give me a minute now.
I will.
Okay. First and foremost, I wasn't comparing him to Magic.
I get it.
There was people out there all fired up about it. I'm not saying he's Magic Johnson. What I'm saying is dominating his position, that position, the point guard position, in my opinion, the most important position in the league right now, on a nightly basis against the other elite players at that position. Nobody's really done it since Magic the way he is. And so you got to give me a second. I just went and looked at the last top point guards he's played against. Would you agree that this constitutes the list of the top guys in the league? Deron Williams, Tony Parker, Chris Paul, Rajon Rondo, Russell Westbrook, and Steve Nash, along with Derrick Rose, be the top 7 point guards. The last 6 times, here's what he's done against these guys. Versus Deron Williams, 21, Derrick Rose. Deron Williams goes 1 for 12. Bulls win.
No, Deron Williams had a bad wrist that knocked him out after.
You can't make excuses for all these guys. Tony Parker.
He didn't play after that.
What was wrong with Tony Parker when he had 42 on him?
Nothing.
Okay, Bulls beat them. Chris Paul, he gets 23, 6 assists. Chris Paul goes 3 for 10. Bulls win that game. Rajon Rondo goes for 36. Rondo gets 13. Bulls win that game. The one guy that played him to a standstill, Russell Westbrook, pretty much dead even. Neither guy played well that night. Bulls win that game. Steve Nash, 35 points, 12 boards, 7 assists against Nash. Bulls win that game. He's won all 6 of those games. He's dominated the elite guys at his position. He has that quality now that when you watch the Bulls play, you can't take your eyes off of him because every possession he's putting pressure on the defense. And I know he takes some bad shots and turns the ball over a little bit too much. But he's got his team at the #1 ranked team in the Eastern Conference primarily because of what he is doing. And that's what I meant. He's dominating the other elite players at his position the way that Magic did.
Operative word here is dominates. I'm not talking about dominating his opponent that night. I'm talking about dominating the position of point guard. I think he dominates it more than Magic did because in ways nobody has ever been, Derrick Rose is primary ball handler and primary scorer for the Chicago Bulls, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So even Magic at his greatest, I mean, he wasn't the primary scorer of those Showtime teams. He could be on a given night, but usually it wasn't Magic because his assists were much higher than Derrick Rose's. So I sit back and I say, this is all why I don't trust this team going forward in the playoffs because they are so dependent upon Derrick Rose to save every day and every night. And in the fourth quarter against Philly, their last game at home in Chicago, it was Derrick Rose or bust. It's too often that for them. And a lot of times, as you say, he pulls it off, and I'm in awe because he's only 6 feet 3 inches tall. But against Philly, Drew Holiday was on him for the most part, but everybody was on him because he was basically going 1-on-5 every time he brought the ball up the floor. Sometimes he converted, and a bunch of times he either got shot blocked or he took a really bad shot, or as you know, he ended up turning it over 10 times. History will show you that in the playoffs, that won't always work, that you can't trust that. So I agree with you. It's unbelievably what he's accomplished. I have high skepticism about what he can accomplish in the real game.
Well, that's legitimate. Listen, you go back 30 years, there's only been 2 teams that have won a title with their point guard as their leading scorer. Isaiah did it one time in Detroit, and Magic did it on one of those teams in LA. And there's a reason for that because you have so much responsibility to score, to distribute, to guard the toughest position to guard on the floor with all you have to do, expend all that energy. It's awfully difficult to run through 16 wins in the postseason when you're the guy every night at that position that's got to lead you in scoring and lead you in assists and be the best defensive player for your team. Very difficult to do it. I agree with you. They're going to have a hard time, I think, getting all the way through the East.
And I agree with you. He dominates the ball the way nobody has, maybe even including Magic.